Yo, what's poppin' everybody? It's your boy Modern Fiction here with another video. So there's a lot of talk and speculation on Zoro going on, and it's pretty polarizing, given how his fight with King is going currently in the latest chapter of One Piece, 1032. So I want to give my thoughts on the matter and give context to what I think is about to happen next. Zoro and King's fight is getting juicier, and I think as we approach the climax of their battle, we'll get more of King's backstory. What is a Lunarian? Why are they so special or rare? As even Zoro stated, he cannot defeat King without knowing what he is. Which is a bold claim, as this implies just not knowing the nature of his existence gives him the upper hand and makes it harder to strategize in battle. It's jokes because people have never really questioned how Sanji could create flames for hundreds of chapters, but Queen finally did, and now Zoro's questioning King's flames, deducing at the very least it's not a devil fruit ability, but something he inherently or naturally has. But moving on to Zoro's development, for this fight and the rest of Wano in general, I believe there are a couple key plot points that must occur in order for him to not only ensure victory in this battle versus King, but also carry Oden's legacy and inherit Ryuma's legacy, becoming a hero of Wano. Let's dive into the sword combinations, as there are a number of possibilities. Firstly, I think Zoro has to make Enma a Black Blade by the end of the arc, and maybe even this fight. As we've seen Enma go off in 1032, but even before that, it's been set up by Tenguyama that Oden's sword resonates with Zoro, and he may be the one that's able to make it a Black Blade, as it is not one yet. Though I believe he will do this, I don't think Zoro will keep the sword. In my opinion, just making it of a higher caliber is enough narratively, as he is just carrying Oden's legacy, not inheriting it directly like Yamato or even Momo to a degree. I used to think that Zoro would get all three curse blades due to the fact of believing in the Kuina theory that she's still alive and Ivankov performed the gender surgery on her. That's still possible, so he could attain and retain all the Kitetsus by end of series, and with all three cursed swords, his Ashura would truly be in its prime. But for that to happen, he'll have to give up Wado Ichimonji. Assuming he keeps that, which is a pretty safe assumption, we'll move on to the rest of the possibilities regarding Zoro's swords. He could keep Enma for the rest of the series, though I personally doubt it. Regardless though, 100% in my mind, Zoro has to get the Nidai Kitetsu. He's been foreshadowed to get it since time, and this plot thread was even reintroduced and set up at the start of Wano, when Luffy was using it, dicking around, and Zoro could tell the blade was special, even though he didn't get a chance to touch it. Zoro has to get the Nidai by the end of the arc, whether it's to help defeat King, or to cut the head of the dragon, or Onigashima itself, to save Wano in front of the Flower Capital. If he doesn't retain both, it's possible that Zoro replaces Nidai with Sandai, as it's technically an upgrade, going from a regular grade sword to a top 21 sword on the planet. It's been a long time since Zoro's sword has broken, and I know he knows Haki now, but this fight is of a different caliber, so maybe Sandai could break, as it's been a long time in the series since one of Zoro's swords has been broken. Zoro has to get the Nidai from either Tenguyama Itetsu or Hiyori, as one of them should have it. We know the skull is flying towards the Flower Capital, where he is right now, and as of latest, we just got confirmation that Hiyori is on Onigashima herself. So wherever the sword is currently, it's relatively close by. If this is the case and the route Oda's going with Zoro's swords, then it opens up some options. Now hear me out. Even though there's no precedence for this, as Zoro has never gotten a sword he's quote unquote gotten rid of, it may be possible he gets Shusui back by the end of the arc. Especially once we finally get Zoro's backstory tying into the Shimotsuki's history and more lore in Wano. It would be beautiful narratively if Ryuma's descendant was to defeat King, as the tragedy of Ryuma's existence was searching for the king and never finding him, as people referred to himself as the king. That's how goated and hardbody he was. As Zoro is now fighting and about to beat King. But also, if Zoro was to use his sword to cut the head of the dragon over the Flower Capital and save Wano like he did 400 years ago. For all the ZKK stands out there, shout out. I feel like once or if the citizens and all the main characters in Wano, including Zoro, know that Ryuma is his ancestor, they will be okay with him inheriting his legacy, taking back the sword, finally closing the loop from Thriller Bark officially, and even trading in one Black Blade for another, an equivalent exchange, as it's too early for Zoro to have multiple Black Blades in my opinion. So to summarize, right now Zoro's swords are Enma, Wado Ichimonji, and Sandai Kitetsu. The possibilities of Zoro's swords coming out of Wano are 2 of the 3 Katetsu blades building towards all 3, so Sandai, Wado, and Nidai. Then he could keep Enma, so Enma, Wado, and Nidai, giving Enma and getting back Shusui, Wado, Nidai, keeping Enma and Shusui along with Wado, in this case not getting any of the cursed Katetsu swords. This has a slim chance, but it's still plausible, possible, but just not probable. Though regardless, Zoro is keeping Wado throughout this arc unless somehow the Kuina plotline gets resolved in the present day, as in terms of backstory, we already know she's a Shimotsuki. Most likely Zoro is from the head family as the son of Shimotsuki Ushimaru, and Kuina and Koshiro are from a branch family descending from Shimotsuki Kozuboro, similar to a Hinata Neji dynamic. This would have been even further foreshadowed from Zoro's backstory in the East Blue, where technically Zoro inherits and carries the dojo as well, not Kuina. At that time it was implied due to gender, but now finding out it was actually fate due to bloodline. So overall my thoughts are Zoro has to keep Wado, get Nidai by the end of the arc, and is coming out of Wano with a black blade, but cannot have 2. Because if he has 2 already, you have to think logically, even Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman, only has 1. And as a counter argument, you could say, well, that's a supreme grade sword, one of the top 12 on the planet. Whereas Zoro's 2 black blades would be top 21, so he'd be relative. And I would concur with that logic if you were to believe that Zoro would be relative to Mihawk in strength coming out of Wano. Which I don't think most people would believe, as it's not time yet. We're getting close though, it's almost endgame. As I do think Zoro will surpass Mihawk, but also get 3 black blades by the end of the series, getting his Santoryu 3 sword style in its prime. So yeah, these are the possibilities that are the most probable given those axioms that, although headcanon, are pretty safe to assume, in my opinion at least. Also, how could we do a video called Zoro's Awakening without talking about Ashura? I think we're definitely going to see Ashura again in Wano, most likely against King. But also for the fanboys, ZKK still remains plausible, just not probable. Of course Luffy will get his 1v1 and defeat Kaido, but he won't kill him for sure in my opinion. On top of the fact that Luffy doesn't kill usually, we know he destroys his opponent's dreams, and in this case, one of Kaido's ambitions is to die. So Luffy won't be the one to do it if he does. In theory, Ashura should be getting stronger every time we see it, as it is a manifestation of Zoro's will, aka Haki, aka Conqueror's Haki. Therefore, the more practical experience he gets using it, the better his Haki and techniques will become. Even the Dragon Slayer panel where Big Mom told Kaido to dodge is foreshadowing in my opinion, as even though Zoro cut Kaido and he himself said this is good enough for you, he still hasn't had that significant blow on him that he himself wanted. But yeah, that's it for the video, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on this matter. How do you guys think Zoro vs King is going to flesh out? And what do you think Zoro's role will be at the end of Wano after this fight, if anything? Let me know what swords you want him to or think he will get. Like, subscribe, comment if you rated it. If you enjoyed the video, more One Piece content coming out soon. Modern Fiction, out.